Hi guys! Now some of you may already be aware that back in 2020 I spent just over £100 on a second-hand Patsy May foilet machine. I didn't actually have a laser printer at the time, but I had heard and researched that Patsy May was supposed to be the best on the market for foiling machines, and it was supposed to beat the Mink machine hands down, so I thought it would be a good investment. I then spent the next 4 months researching different printers before I finally decided on this one here, which is the Brother HL L50 50DN. I then had to save up to buy one. By now it had been over 6 months that I'd spent researching both the foilet machine and the printers, and I couldn't wait to finally be able to start selling my foiled items. So what happened? Let's find out. Imagine my horror when, after spending over £200 on equipment and materials, and now 6 to 9 months of my life researching it all, I struggled to get a decent foil transfer. If you aren't familiar with foiling, you need a laser printer to create the design, and then you use specialist foil laid over the top and run through a foiling machine. This heats the plastic up in the toner, which the foil then sticks to. In theory, it sounds super simple, and I knew that I had all of the correct kit to be able to make it possible. So why wasn't it working? It turns out that in foiling, the most important aspect isn't the foiling machine, it's not even the printer, it's the cardstock. I have spent the last 3 years looking for a cardstock that not only foils well, but works really amazingly with an inkjet printer too. I don't want to just foil my designs, I want to be able to add my own printed illustrations to them too. It appeared that what I was looking for was the Holy Grail. Business friends that also sold foiled items told me I was being too critical and that I'd never be able to get a perfect finish with at-home foiling. And that was part of the rustic charm. For me though, they just didn't look good enough to sell. It got to the point that with the few items that I had made, I started listing the finish as antique foil to give a heads up to my customers that there was an imperfect finish. I don't want my customers to be disappointed in anything that they've bought from me.
I dabbled with cards and I thought I'd struck gold with these pricey blanks that really did seem to foil well. Annoyingly, they were over 5 times the price of my usual handmade blanks, and they were sized to 8.5 when folded, meaning they're classed as a large letter by Royal Mail, and they're more expensive to post. The website description said that they were also inkjet compatible, so I was excited to try and layer up foiling over my designs. As you can see, the quality of printing is shocking, and it didn't matter what tweaks I made to the design, I just couldn't get it to not be patchy. In fact, I stopped creating any new foiled items, and after wasting so much money on cardstock that promised to work, I gave up.
Fast forward to March 2024, and the amazing Paper Cutz had sent me some goodies to try out. Mr. Chibichi wanted to make an anniversary card for a family member, and I suggested adding foil accents. He was slightly nervous, as he'd had to listen to me rant and rave about how I couldn't get the foiling to work for almost 4 years. He did, however, reluctantly agree. On a whim, I picked up the Paper Cutz gloss that I'd been kindly sent and tried it. I already knew it handles inkjet printing beautifully, as I've been using it for my cards, but I was curious as to whether or not it would work in laser. I need to be really clear here. This was a risky experiment on my part. Technically, it's coated gloss for inkjet. This means that it could heat up inside either the laser printer or the foilet machine and coat the inside with the coating, which could cause all sorts of issues. However, I knew the risk and I was feeling a bit reckless. Luckily for you, however, Paper Cutz also do a laser gloss, which will not have the risk of damaging your printer or foiling machine. And before I share the results, I thought it might be helpful for me to take you step by step on what is involved in creating a laser and inkjet design.
As I mentioned before, I've not actually designed that many foil accent cards, as I found it too frustrating when I couldn't get it to work. This means that I'm effectively having to start from scratch. It's been a little hard trying to reignite my foiling mojo from almost 4 years ago, but I'm excited to come up with some new designs. When you're creating a layered inkjet and foil card, it's really important to start with the inkjet section. I cut the laser section so it doesn't get printed, but is on the clipboard ready for the next step. You need to make sure you follow the correct settings for the Paper Cutz gloss card, which with a Canon is quality high, paper setting professional gloss photo paper, and colour chroma is auto. I have more detailed instructions included with my upload from a few weeks ago. Perfect card printing with Affinity Designer and Canon IP8750. I'll drop a card here. After your inkjet design is finished, it's time for the laser element. I have scraps of paper with terrible sketches on to remind me exactly which way to feed the paper into the laser printer when double printing, as I can never remember. Obviously each machine is different, so you'll need to figure this out yourself. Now you need to delete the inkjet part of the design and paste in place the laser part. It's really important that you select paste in place, as this makes sure it lines up correctly. It took me a lot of trial and error with my Brother printer to find out which settings work the best, and I trawled so many foiling website forums and groups to test out tips and tricks that were shared and worked for so many others. These are the settings I use to get the best amount of toner coverage for the foil to stick to. You need to highlight your laser printer and then press properties. The paper size is going to depend on your card design. Sometimes I use pre-sized blanks and sometimes I'll go for A4 and trim down after. It completely depends on whether it's a full border print or not. Media type, I select thick envelopes as this seems to lay down the most toner, and I do use thicker 300 GSM card anyway. My brother will tell me I need to use the MP tray for envelopes, so I have to remember to feed it from the drawer at the front, and it will then come out of the back, not the usual tray at the top. This also helps to prevent card curling. Resolution is set to 600 dpi, and then you'll need to set the print settings to text regardless of what it actually is. Paper source should be changed to MP1 tray if you have this Brother printer. Next, click on the Advanced button. Scaling must be off, and then select the Other Print Settings button. Under Density Adjustment, move this to Darkest. Under Improve Print Output, select Improve Toner Fixing. Make sure Print Text in black is highlighted. In Eco Settings, turn on Quiet Mode. This moves the card slower through the machine, which helps the toner adhere better. Then press OK. I actually save all of these settings under Print Profiles so I can quickly select them whenever I need to foil. And you're done.
I'm quite lucky with my Canon and Brother printer because, as you can see, the design lines up pretty well. When I used to have my Epson printer, I wasn't so lucky. I used to have to go into Affinity Designer and offset the laser print by about 8 mils each way, which was quite annoying. If you would like me to do a video on how to actually fix printers that don't line up between an inkjet and a laser, definitely let me know and I can create one. Now it's time for the fun part, foiling the design.
I use Patsy May foils as they're supposed to be some of the best, and my foil machine is also made by Patsy May. My settings on my machine are 165 degrees Celsius, and I let it run for about 5 minutes once it's reached that temperature. Next, I use a microfiber cloth to remove any specks of dust that may be on the card, as they stop the foil from sticking to the toner. You can use these ink transfer folders, or I usually just use a folded piece of 160 GSM A3 card. Next, cut your foil to size and carefully lay it over the toner before placing it in the folder. Beware of static, as it can crease the foil or even shift it when you're closing the folder. I do like the ink folders because they're clear and you can check everything is covered, but they definitely have more static compared to just using card. The problem with a folded A3 card is you can't see what's happening inside, so if the foil slips, you have no idea. You're going to feed it into the machine, creased side first, making sure it's straight. I'm not going to lie, I've ruined so many folders by putting them in at a slight angle and having them crease up and get jammed. When it's finished, there are lots of people that say you should run it through the machine twice for a better result, but I've not needed to do that with the Paper Cutz Gloss Laser card. Now it's time for the big reveal, and I always get so nervous. Foiling is time consuming if you're selling personalised or custom pieces, and there's nothing more soul destroying than getting to the stage and having to repeat the entire thing as it's messed up.
As you can see, it's perfect. There are no missing spots like other cards, and the inkjet part is beautiful. It always seems a bit like magic.
I think we can all agree that I found the perfect card for foiling, and the best part is it works great for inkjet too. Now here you can see the laser gloss, and here is the inkjet gloss. Both of them foil perfectly. In my opinion, I prefer the actual inkjet gloss slightly for the inkjet. Obviously the imaging is just a little bit more brighter, and the colours are slightly duller on this. This is a great option if you are worried about using an inkjet gloss in your foiling machine and your laser printer. For me, as you can see, there's absolutely no issues, but I need to make you aware that these are coated, and obviously when they are heated up, it can be unpredictable. But there's no sign of damage on the card or transfer to my printer or the foiling machine itself. So here are the expensive blanks, and you can see on the inkjet portion, it's just really patchy, whereas on the inkjet portion here, it is perfect. Of course, I had to buy 50 of these because that was the minimum quantity, and they were so expensive. They're now actually used by Chibichi Jr. for decorating cards for birthdays and get well soon and things like that for friends and family. Very expensive, but at least they're being used. Now that I've got this cracked, there are going to be so many new designs coming your way. I hope you'll have a look in my website and Etsy shop to keep updated with them all. I'm really hoping to get more of my hand illustrated components in, like the cute little fuzzy bumble butts, into my cards, as it's something that I want to expand more on this year. I want to say a very special thank you to Cutz for sponsoring today's video. If it hadn't been for their amazing inkjet gloss, then I think it's safe to say that my Patsy May foil it machine would be sat up on the shelf for another 4 years. You can check them out for yourself, as I've added all of the links to the cards that I've used in the description box down below. They're also currently offering free postage, so it's the perfect time to stock up on any cardstock you may need. If you found this video useful, hit the like button. If you want to see more from me, then definitely consider subscribing. I'm so close to 2,000 followers now. If you've got any questions about foiling, then just drop them down below. I'll get back to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye!